Thank you, Chair Swikert, and to the ranking member, Ms. Sewell, for starting this important discussion today. As many of my colleagues know, I have long supported the adoption of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies since my time here in Congress. Why? Because these are tools that can help enable financial inclusion and equity. In Nevada, over 6% of the residents have no bank account. In the United States, 5.6 million households have no checking or savings accounts. Without bank accounts, it's nearly impossible for individuals to save money securely, let alone invest, leaving them vulnerable in emergencies. That's why it's important that when we see these new opportunities like crypto, that we push for full financial inclusion, as with any emerging industry. Congress has a duty, though, to evaluate what truly serves the public, not just what boosts big portfolios or billionaires. So let's be clear, the status quo isn't stopping Donald Trump or other scammers. We must have regulatory frameworks that allow for safe experimentation while keeping bad actors and scammers out. This week is a good start with the crypto bills that are on the House floor, but true policy making means that this is only the start. Greater access to these technologies must be balanced with sufficient standards, guardrails, and protections to allow for responsible scaling, growth, and opportunities. That's why I'm urging my colleagues to work with all of us here. I plan to lead an effort to address the taxation of cryptocurrencies, and I urge my Republican friends to join me. The American people need to know that we are united to make sure that we get these policies right. We've already seen what happens with partisan-only approaches. Ms. Mersinger, in your testimony, you noted that the gaps in our tax framework forces innovators to make difficult choices on ambiguous interpretations of the law. Can you give us an example of one of these issues innovators face, please?
Thank you for that question. And I think staking is a good place to look at one of those areas where, because of the way that tax treats the staking of assets, because it's taxed at that moment, you have innovators who may hold off and not participate because they don't have the funds to pay for those taxes up front. So it does keep people out of certain functions if they have to pay a tax at the moment of creation versus at disposition of the assets when they would have the funds to pay those taxes.
And what are the risks of inconsistent state-level tax treatment of crypto? And how can federal guidance help harmonize those approaches?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you have a patchwork of regulation, it just means there's more compliance costs for these businesses, and for every dollar that they spend on compliance, that's one less dollar that they're putting back in the business. So this is it's a great example of why we need it's the three-legged stool. We need federal regulation, market structure framework. We need stablecoin legislation, but we also need clarity in the tax treatment of digital assets, and to ensure that America is the place for cryptocurrency and this industry to grow.
What are the benefits for both taxpayers and the IRS of treating mining and staking rewards as property, capital assets, rather than immediate income?
So kind of back to that, having the funds to pay the taxes up front, but when you've created something, you haven't yet disposed of it, so you don't have those funds to pay the taxes. The IRS, because of the way this is also the way you track it, you have to know the moment of the stake and the mining, and that gets to be very burdensome to track that information. And the IRS then has to, they have to keep track of that as well. So it's a burden. These things happen regularly. So to have that level of disclosure and the need of that information and data to the IRS definitely will overwhelm the system. And at the end of the day, we just need some fairness in the tax code. We need to modernize it to make sure that that the digital asset framework and regulations are built on American values.
Thank you. Well, I hope that I can have my colleagues on both sides of the aisle work with us, because without clear tax rules, digital asset users face complex regulations and burdensome IRS reporting. We should all agree that we can work together to streamline that. I will yield back. Thank you.